probably the area when we talk about geopolitics and security, the area where the West is lagging the furthest behind Russia and where it's the hardest to catch up, because the West simply didn't pay attention or didn't have the Arctic as a priority since the Second World War, or since the Cold War.
Now, in discussion of global strategy, the Arctic comes up more and more again and again. The most direct route for Russia to attack Northern America is by launching missiles from a base on the Kola Peninsula in the extreme northwest of that country. There are Canadian and American bases in that region, but they are hard to operate. The supplies take a year to reach them. Now, the Wall Street Journal's Sune Engel Rasmussen has spent 3 weeks in the Arctic, just scoping out the territory aboard a cargo ship, and he's here with me in the studio. Sune, good to have you here.
Yeah, thanks so much.
All right, so you experienced then the inhospitable and remote wilderness of the Arctic aboard that cargo ship. Just tell us a bit about that voyage.
Yeah, it was an extraordinary assignment I got myself on there, I think. So I spent 3 weeks sailing from a port near Montreal in Canada up to Pituffik, which is this American space base on the western coast of Greenland. And then we went back again to the Canadian coast and down through these small Inuit communities in Canada. And for me, like, the most interesting bit of that trip was crossing the Arctic Ocean, seeing Pituffik, formerly known as Thule Air Base in Greenland, which has been the subject of some controversy recently with the Trump administration claiming control of Greenland. J.D. Vance was the vice president, visited earlier this year. There was some furor. But it was interesting just to see like how difficult it is to get supplies around the Arctic, ice, weather, fog, storms. These things are completely outside of our control, and that means that bringing supplies, operating, doing just the most basic things of operating a military base are really cumbersome. And
you're right that you learned a few things about operating, being in that region. When you got held up a few times on your voyage, and when you got to Pituffik, the soldiers weren't there. They were all having a weekend off.
Well, the dock workers, I should say, not the soldiers, but the dock workers had gone.
That's a relief.
Home. Yeah, the soldiers were there, but the soldiers. It's also important sort of to maybe qualify what they do there. It's a space base, so it monitors space and it monitors potential missiles coming from Russia. So it's not like you don't have tanks driving around this space. It's soldiers monitoring space. But yes, when we arrived at 4 o'clock on a Friday, or 4:30 on a Friday, we were told that the dock workers, we were told by the port master, the harbor master, that the dock workers had gone home for the weekend, and we had to wait until Monday to unload. The result being then we were drifting 2 miles off the coast of Greenland for the entire weekend. A storm picked up suddenly. The anchor came loose and was sort of drifting around, like 180 meters of anchor was drifting around just above an underwater sea cable near icebergs. It was the fog descended. It was blowing 50 knots, which is like 60 miles an hour, something like that. So quite dangerous situation, and it was very sort of highly unusual that a ship wasn't allowed to berth, and they never really gave an explanation for it.
I mean, so a difficult area to operate in, certainly to live in. I wonder what it was like on if you like, the superficial level. Superficial is an inadequate word. Was it beautiful? Was it spectacular?
Very beautiful, yeah, but beautiful in maybe a different way than I'd expected. So when you can see the coast, it's very beautiful. You have, on the Canadian side, you have mountains, or these rugged, craggy mountains. At this time of year, there's like a dusting of snow on top. On the Greenlandic side, you have lots of icebergs, you have glaciers, even this time of year. 90% of all the icebergs that are in the Arctic come from the western coast of Greenland and sort of drift over in sort of a counterclockwise loop over to Canada. So lots of ice on the Greenlandic side. And when you're on just the water and you can't see the coast, I mean, the view changes every 30 minutes much because of the weather, because of the light. You get the light from the sky, obviously from the sun, but you also get clouds. You then get reflection from the water, you get reflection from the ice, and all that just changes every 20-30 minutes.
I remember hearing someone say it takes a particular kind of temperament and personality to exist in that environment. It is wild, it is so spectacular, it can be overwhelming. I mean, you don't want someone there who's, if you like, got too much imagination.
Yeah, and you don't want someone who won't accept relinquishing control. And this is something that, as a journalist, maybe you can also you can recognize this. It was difficult for me. Like, you're basically not, like, you have these wide expanses, you have fresh air. That in itself gives a sense of freedom. But at the same time, you're stuck and trapped in this little box on the ocean, and you have no control over where you're going or how fast you're going. So you just have to lean into it and accept that you'll get there when you get there.
Yeah, I mean, we do hear and see major leaders now talking more about the strategic importance of that region. So if it's I don't know, use the old-fashioned term, a race for dominance of that region for strategic military purposes, is the West behind in that race?
Very far behind. It's probably the area when we talk about geopolitics and security, the area where the West is lagging the furthest behind Russia, and where it's the hardest to catch up, because the West simply didn't pay attention or didn't have the Arctic as a priority since the Second World War, or since the Cold War. But Russia did, and Russia has expanded its presence there, both militarily, but also expanded a commercial partnership with China, which it can turn into some kind of strategic partnership if it wishes to. And this is a major concern for Western militaries.
All right, Sune Rasmussen from the Wall Street Journal. Really, really interested to talk to you. Thank you, Sune.
You're most welcome.